He does a 4.5-hour surgery under a microscope, puts it all back together. So they stand me up and walk me out.
This is like Weekend at Bernie's.
Oh my God. They walk me out. I can't move. They pull up in front of my house at like 8:30. They get me out of the car, stand me up. He puts a pink wrapped present with baby clothes under one arm, a blue wrapped present of baby clothes under the other arm, stand me at the curb and blow the horn and pull off and leave me standing there. And I tell her, I've heard what you said in that room, and I've had my vasectomy reversed. And she just starts crying and couldn't be happier. And they say there's a 50-50 chance it'll work. She's pregnant in 7 weeks.
Way to go.
The McGraw boys can swim.
One of the reasons I wanted to do this with you is because I'm just fascinated that you've succeeded in so much. What's this? This is an old racket.
This was given to me by the mother of my dear friend, Bill Dawson. Marge Dawson played with this racket in Tulia, Texas in her senior year, 1938.
Wow.
In Tulia, Texas. Can you imagine hitting a ball with that?
It's such a small head.
Yeah.
Can you actually hit a ball with this?
Yes. Marty Fish, who's one of the top-ranked American players that just retired, has played me with this racket.
Did he beat you?
Like a drum.
Okay, I want to talk about rules to live by, because you're an expert at that.
We'll see.
One of the reasons I wanted to do this with you is because I'm just fascinated that you've succeeded in so many different areas. You've succeeded in psychology, in jury science, you've succeeded in television, in business. What's the secret?
Well, for me, I think it's really a matter of knowing what you want and knowing what you're willing to do to get it. I know what I can do and I know what I can't do.
You stay in your lane.
I do. I stay in my lane.
How do you take losing?
Not well. Not well.
Do you throw that?
No, I don't.
Ever?
I just come back harder the next time.
Until you win?
Damn right.
Well, you talk about creating your experience a lot. I'm not sure I understand what that means.
I think you get what you give. I think if you go through life like really negative and a chip on your shoulder and pessimistic, that's how you engage the world. You're going to get negative, pessimistic, chip on your shoulder responses from people. If you go through life where you have an expectation of success and you have an expectation that people are going to accept what you're offering, then you're so much more likely that you're going to get that result. I was a person with a damaged truth, so I know that. Like I say, I lived with an alcoholic father. I'd go to school knowing that the windows in my kitchen got kicked out last night, that we didn't have any utilities. And I'm sitting next to a kid and I compare my reality with his social mask. That's what kids do. And as a result, you feel second class, and so you generate the results you think you deserve.
You don't believe in victims.
I don't. I don't. And that doesn't mean that people can't transiently be preyed upon. But, I tell people that have been molested in their childhood, you have zero responsibility for that happening to you as a child. You have 100% what you do about it as an adult.
We are the same age. And I have a fear that if I stop working, I'm going to drop dead. Do you have a fear like that?
I do. I think if anybody loses passion in their life, if there's not something that they feel a purpose for, I think it really takes away a life drive. I think if you don't have a reason to get up tomorrow, if you don't have something that you think is a meaningful contribution to this life, your whole purpose, your momentum, your whole drive goes away. And I'm starting to make changes in my life now that anticipate what I know is coming.
What is coming?
Well, I wasn't exactly eye candy when I started television. So, as each day goes by, I'm looking like more and more like an old catcher's mitt. So I'm starting to do things behind the camera.
I got to tell you, I have really enjoyed this. You are an impressive guy. Thank you so much.
I'm really flattered that you wanted to do this.
I'm honored.
Well, thank you so much.
I am honored. Thanks.
All right.
The objects people choose to keep in their home define who they are. This is Objectified, Alex Trebek.
These are the dice from High Rollers on which you were a contestant.
I was.
Who did not do particularly well.
I'm Harvey Levin. This is the story of a man who's been welcomed into millions of homes across the globe for more than 3 decades.
Welcome to begin another week.
Alex was a young hellraiser in Canada, something that enraged his mom.
She would whack me sometimes if I did something that she considered stupid.
But after his parents divorced, Alex was shipped off to boarding school, and what started as a summer gig at a radio station to pay tuition turned into a career, which had its perks.
You were kind of a serial dater. What was your type?
I was into faces more than bodies. I wasn't one of those guys who said, boy, look at the knockers on that girl.
Soon enough, he got the opportunity of a lifetime, hosting Jeopardy!
You never let producers call you the star of the show.
Never.
Beginning of Wheel of Fortune, they say they are stars, but you don't like that.
Turns out Alex Trebek's finish line may be closer than you think.
Your contract is up on Jeopardy in 2020. Can you imagine a life without Jeopardy?
Sure.
What are the odds that you will stay after 2020?
Alex Trebek, the man with all the answers.
Hey, welcome.
What is a salutation?
You got that one right. I'm happy to have you here, but I'm going to have to start with an apology. Your show is about objects that people have saved over the years because they are significant in one part or another of their careers or their lives. I have never thrown anything away. My whole life, my home, everything.
Fantastic. You want to get started?
Go on
Let's
in.
do it.
I did manage to pull out of my library this book, which was my very first book purchase as a young boarding student at the University of Ottawa Prep School in Ottawa, Ontario, Canada. It's part of the Collins Classic. And I looked, gosh, this book is leather bound, and it's Wuthering Heights by Emily Bronte, and it's only $2. I've got to get that book. And that was the beginning of, I guess you'd call it a thirst and a love of books. I just love being able to acquire knowledge this way or by personal experience.
I'm going to take you back to Canada. Kind of a modest upbringing, would you say?
Yes, like many young boys, I had a paper route and I was a good student. In high school, I started to fool around a little too much for the teachers, and could be described as slightly unruly.
Your dad was an interesting guy.
My dad was born in Ukraine, about 4 or 5 languages. He and Mom had some pretty good arguments. Never any physical abuse on either side.
She was a disciplinarian.
Yeah, that he would whack me pretty hard sometimes.
Really?
Well, if I did something that she considered stupid.
You seem, to me at least, to be a very disciplined person. So it seems like that rubbed off.
Well, it rubbed off there, and it rubbed off perhaps more than that at boarding school with the Oblate Mary Immaculate, the priests. A great bunch of guys. One of them got to be my spiritual advisor and my banker, because my dad had almost no money. My dad had almost no money and couldn't send me any money to spend. Mom was in Florida. In many ways, yes, and that probably was what contributed to my becoming so unruly my first year at boarding school and being one of the difficult students in class.
You were acting out.
Yeah.
Something that to me felt like the seeds of jeopardy. You spent, at a period of your life, you spent a lot of time alone. You were kind of a shy kid, but you read a lot, didn't you?
Yeah, reading got to be an escape, and radio got to be an escape.
An escape from what?
Well, snow.
What did you want to be when you grew up?
I joke with audiences. I tell them when I was a kid I wanted to be a doctor, a pilot, or Prime Minister of Canada. I have achieved none of my goals. You are looking at a failure.
Maybe a pilot, a doctor, or even a prime minister would say, God, I wish I hosted Jeopardy.
Well, Prime Minister Trudeau, whom I spent some time with on a visit to Ottawa about 1.5 years ago, told me, he said, Alex, if you ever do a Celebrity Jeopardy with world leaders, put me down. I want to be on the show.
I read that you dropped out of military school to chase a girl.
I had, just before going off to military college, met the love of my life. And then the thought of being away from her for this extended period of time at military college, I guess, was one of the major influences in my walking out of military college.
So what happened?
We broke up not too long after that. When we were at the front door, I told you that I don't throw anything away.
You did say that.
And I have saved, I have an example here. This is the first income tax return I filed after my first full year in broadcasting with the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation.
I am dying to see this.
1962.
Yep.
How much make?
Oh, $8,855.41.
Even then, I was overpaid.
Well,
I was a staff announcer.
These 51 charming young ladies are members of Le Chœur Clairefontaine. As they sing Sur la route de Châtillon and C'est beau la vie, who could resist their charms?
so how'd you get into broadcasting?
I needed money to pay for my junior year at university. I had no money. Tuition was a whopping $500 a year. But the CBC, they hired me as a summer relief announcer. And then in February, there was an opening on their permanent staff, and they asked me if I would be interested in joining the permanent staff. This was in my senior year now. And I said, yeah, if I can finish my education. So I did class from 9 to noon every day. I was at the Faculty of Philosophy. And then I did studio work from 4 to 12 for an entire year. Graduated and stayed with the CBC. And 1.5 years later, I got transferred to Toronto, which is really where my career developed. That's where I paid my dues.
From Studio 4 in Toronto, it's your afternoon Music Hot. And now, here's your host on Music Hot. Thanks, fellas. Hi, kids. Welcome back to Music Hot.
You were called the Canadian Dick Clark because you hosted some kind of a teen dance show?
No, it wasn't a dance show. It was a teen music show.
Teen
live,
music show.
Called Music Hot. And we had some of Canada's best-known performers. Gordon Lightfoot was one of our early guests.
Saturday night, we all get together on a Saturday night.
So how'd you get into quiz shows?
Well, there was a high school quiz called Reach for the Top.
team leading by 10 points at the moment. Name the Canadian province where we would find partridge berries. Peter Matthews.
Alberta.
Alberta is incorrect.
I got to be the butt of a lot of jokes from people like SCTV. Eugene Levy portrayed me, and he was the host, Alex Trebell.
Correct. All right, that's it. Show's over. Get out. Everybody out. No winners. No winners. Certainly no scholarships. That's it. No points. Clear the studio. I want you out.
So the CBC loved you. You did a bunch of shows for them. Why?
Opportunity. I'd done pretty much everything I could do in Canada in terms of hosting. Because I was bilingual, I got to host some big classical musical extravaganzas.
When you began hosting game shows in the United States, you were the first host since Groucho. There's resistance to that, wasn't there?
Well, interestingly, one of the reasons they hired me was because I had the mustache.
Really?
And when we did the pilot, Lynn Boland came to me and said, Alex, how strongly do you feel about your mustache? I said, very. That was the end of that. I mean, I had the big hair, the big mustache. We trimmed back a lot of it for the show. So Wizard of Oz was my start. And bad news, good news, after a year, they came to me and they said, sorry, Alex, the show is being canceled. Oh, what's the good news? The good news is it's being replaced by a show called High Rollers on the following Monday, and you're going to be hosting that.
The dice. Players going to be using those dice in a few moments to win some prizes. Great prizes hidden under the 9 numbers we have on this board here. So we're going to get right to it.
So in my career, I have managed to be canceled and replaced myself on a different show on 2 different occasions. So that's something. I thought you might recognize these because these are the dice, the original dice from High Rollers, on which you were a contestant.
I was.
Who did not do particularly well.
No, and I can't find the tape of this thing. I was a law student at the University of Chicago and got an invitation to teach law school at the University of Miami. And I thought, I'm gonna win a boat on a game show. And I did research. Your show gave more boats away than anybody else. So I go on your show and I'm up against this woman named Audrey from Van Nuys. And she kicked my ass. She even got the question on law. I did win a vacuum cleaner, so thank you.
Good.
I sold it.
Happy to help.
So before Jeopardy, you did a bunch of game shows, not just High Rollers. You did Double Dare, you did Stars on Ice, $128,000 question. You did the rounds, didn't you?
I did. As Malcolm Gladwell has explained in one of his books, I paid my dues for... It has kind of a sorrowful aspect to it, doesn't it? I have the mustache.
It's brooding.
So it goes back to the early 1980s when I was working on Jeopardy, just starting on Jeopardy. And at that time I was involved with a winery in Central California. And James Paul Brown is the artist who did the labels for us for the winery and did this picture of me.
Well, the picture of you has endured better than the winery. You lost your shirt, Alex.
I didn't lose my shirt, but I lost an awful lot of money. We just had some bad luck. But everything seems to have worked out well for me.
Here is the host of Jeopardy, Alex Trebell.
Thank you, Johnny. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Jeopardy as we begin another week.
How did you get Jeopardy?
I got a call one day from Bob Murphy, who was vice president of Merv Griffin Enterprises. About a year before this phone call, I had received another phone call from him saying, Alex, you don't know me, I'm Bob Murphy. I'm the executive producer of Wheel of Fortune. Chuck Woolery was supposed to tape the shows this weekend. We have a special tournament, and he's in the hospital. He can't do anything. He tried to commit suicide. And he is, I'm not telling tales out of school or betraying confidences because Chuck has admitted that. So he was in the hospital and they said, we're taping tomorrow. Do you think you could help us out and come and do the shows? So I did. And they remembered that. And When they put Wheel of Fortune into syndication with Pat Sajak, it did really well that first year, and they decided, why don't we try to get a 1-hour package of Wheel and something else? How about we bring back Jeopardy? And who are we going to get to host it? Well, what about that guy Trebek that helped us out on Wheel over a year ago? Good idea.
And now, here is the host of Jeopardy, Alex Trebek.
Why is it relatable? Because these questions, you watch the contestants and you're kind of in awe that they know so much and they're so deep. But for a lot of people, they don't get a lot of questions right.
You don't have to. You're not going to be disappointed with the material you don't get because you know it's really tough stuff and you're not expected to get it. Those contestants, they'll get it because we know they're bright. They have to take a big test in order to be on the show. But we have a lot of pop culture material now. Music, movies, stuff like that you can relate to. You go to the movies, you listen to music.
I love that you're pointing at me when we're talking about the easier ones. Thank you.
All right.
You know how I did in High Rollers, clearly.
Yeah, well.
34 years it's been on the air with you, 7,600 episodes. Does it get old for you ever?
Never.
Why?
Because every day we have new contestants, every day we have new material. The format is the same, so I feel very comfortable in that format. I've settled into it, and I like it, and I can relax with it. And because I can do that, I can fool around. Nerdcore
Hip-hop, yes. It's people who identify as nerdy, rapping about the things they love, video games, science fiction, having a hard time meeting romantic partners, you know. It's really catchy and fun.
Losers, in other words.
Well,
I just absolutely love your show. And one of the things that I always think about when I watch it is I watch you read the answers, and some of them are complicated. Do you rehearse these?
I don't rehearse them, but I read them over one time. I get all of the material, 5 shows we're going to tape in one day. I get that at 7:30 in the morning, and it takes me an hour and a half to go over those 5 games. And if there are words that are going to be difficult to say properly, I make diacritical marks. But still, I mess up every once in a while, and we reshoot that clip.
Yeah.
So that the people at home think, oh gosh, Trebek is so bright.
Yeah, well, you just told us a secret.
Yeah, well.
How many days a week do you work?
2 days a week. Tuesdays and Wednesdays, usually.
Good gig.
Not exactly overworked, is he?
Can we talk about a scandal?
Sure.
2001. You shaved your mustache.
Oh, yeah.
That was a big deal.
And I couldn't understand that. It got more press than some of the international events that were occurring at that time.
It did.
We're at war and everything, and I'm telling people, what the hell are you thinking of? You're asking me about my mustache.
It was a big deal.
Yeah, the public is like the voting public in America right now. They're split 50-50 as to whether I should have a mustache or not. My wife is on the side of those who say clean shaven. So I'm clean shaven. She wins.
You once said, and I love this, if you have no personality, you can't be a contestant. You can host it, but you can't be a contestant. Pretty self-effacing.
Well, I'm there as a facilitator. I want to make you look good. I want you to be the very best you can be. Succeed, the show succeeds. If the show succeeds, I succeed.
Consider yourself a celebrity.
Or celebrity, if you will.
You never let producers call you the star of the show.
Because I'm not.
Beginning of Wheel of Fortune, they say, now here are the stars of our show. If you were to be the star of the show?
No. Even though I know the entire alphabet.
Francis urging Christians to forgo the greed, hoarding, and materialism of Christmas and focus instead on its message of simplicity, charity, and love. Francis celebrated a Christmas Eve Mass tonight in St. Peter's Basilica. During his homily, Francis lamented that many people find meaning in possessions. Francis has crusaded for the world's poor and downtrodden during his 5-year papacy. Oscar-winning actor Kevin Spacey has been charged in connection with an allegation that he sexually abused an 18-year-old boy at a Massachusetts bar more than 2 years ago. Spacey is scheduled to be arraigned in Nantucket next month on a single charge of indecent assault and battery. No comment so far from the actor or his attorney. I'm Anna Koyman. Now back to Objectified, Alex Trebek.
Gucci bracelet.
It's nice.
This is a replica of a Gucci bracelet that my mother found in a parking lot one day about 25 years ago. And she brought it home, and she gave it to me. It's a man's bracelet. And I said, oh, I like that. And it's the only piece of jewelry I have worn constantly throughout my professional career.
So this is the segment on you being. Do you consider yourself a celebrity?
Minor celebrity, if you will.
Hold on. You say minor celebrity. The show has been on the air 34 years. You know you're at the top of the heap when it comes to syndicated television, probably the history of television, right?
Well, Wheel of Fortune has always had better ratings than us, but if we had Wheels time slots, I think we would have been #1. And I say that with pride.
You never let producers call you the star of the show.
Never.
Because?
Because I'm not. The stars of Jeopardy are the contestants and the material.
What is a Tootsie Roll?
That's right.
I need this. M&M's 400.
I get it. So explain this to me. Your show is done by the same company that does Wheel of Fortune. At the beginning of Wheel of Fortune, they say they are the stars of the show.
Here are the stars of America's game. St. Jack and Vanna White.
But you don't like that.
It's a personal quirk. It's just, as I said a moment ago, the stars are the material.
If you were doing Wheel, would you be the star of the show?
No. No.
That's interesting.
Even though I know the entire alphabet.
Do you socialize with celebrities?
I used to a lot more than I do now. Generally speaking, I do not socialize with show business people.
Is that a choice?
Yeah, it's just the way things have worked out with celebrities. I've been married now for 28 years, and I'm very happy with the lifestyle Gene and I have developed. I'm a homebody. I love fixing things at home. I have probably more tools and more hardware paraphernalia than any person you have ever interviewed.
I'm guessing that if you go to a restaurant, somebody would want to walk up to you and say, Alex, I'm gonna stump you with a question or an answer.
That happened in the early years of Jeopardy. They would come up to me and just throw something at me and expect me to come up with the correct response. I'm trying to remember what one of the earlier ones was. Had to do with places where the United States flag flies 24 hours a day. And I said, what is the moon? And, yeah, okay.
Wow. I would not have thought that, but you're absolutely right.
Still there.
You're right. That's a good one. So, Will Ferrell played you on Saturday Night Live. Did you like it?
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. I didn't think he was a great me because Eugene Levy, who did me before on SCTV, was a better Alex Trebek. But Will Ferrell seemed to be very perplexed, and he would get upset, and I don't think that was me.
Do you kind of shun extravagances, yachts, private jets,
Yes.
stuff like that?
Yes.
How come? Because you could afford it.
Yeah, but it doesn't bring me any pleasure anymore. I drive a pickup truck. I'm very comfortable driving a pickup truck. I haul stuff because I need things to help do repairs here at the house. And I'm not into exotic cars or boats or planes. It doesn't excite me.
I got to tell you, you got a pickup truck, you know how to fix stuff. If you retire from Jeopardy, you could do really well just parking outside Home Depot.
Mr. Fix-It.
Seriously.
Yep.
You dated Stephanie Powers. You dated Rona Barrett. Beverly Sassoon. Susan Sullivan. So you made your way around Hollywood.
The Muskox, which manages to combine my love of art with my favorite animal, because when threatened by wolves, they form a circle, and all of the calves are inside the circle, fully protected. That's probably why I love the muskox so much. I see myself as a protector of my family.
Let's talk a little bit about another dimension of your life. You were engaged to a woman when you were at the CBC in Canada, and you said something. You said, I got lucky and didn't marry the girl. What's that about?
It wouldn't have worked out. She was a beautiful, beautiful girl. Vanda King was her name. Gorgeous creature. And it just, it was infatuation for each of us, I think, but not destined to survive.
You were kind of a serial dater in Toronto. What was your type?
There wasn't any type. I dated beautiful blondes, beautiful brunettes.
Oh, I think beautiful is the type then.
Well, I was into faces more than bodies. I wasn't one of those guys who said, boy, look at the knockers on that girl, or look at this, look at that. No, that never came up. It was the face, the eyes, that attracted me. And if they had a sense of humor, and if they were good cooks, that helped.
Fair enough. So then how does the former Playboy bunny that you married fit into that?
She was beautiful.
She could cook.
She could cook. Very bright. And we have remained friends to this day. She's friends with my current wife, Jean.
After you got divorced, you dated some interesting people. You dated Stephanie Powers. You dated Rona Barrett. Beverly Sassoon. Susan Sullivan. So you made your way around Hollywood. This smile is enough. You met your current wife, I believe, in 1990?
We married in 1990. I met her before that. She was doing books for a friend of mine, and I thought she was most attractive. She thought I was a jerk, and he invited me to dinner one night, and I said, I'll come if you can make sure that Jeannie attends also. And she did, and I asked her out, and we started dating.
She is 23 years your junior.
24.
24? Was that an issue?
Yeah, I worried that age would slow me down a great deal. But I find that I'm still very active. I don't look my age, and I realize that. I've had a knee replacement. I've had 20 surgeries in my life.
20 surgeries?
Yeah. Back, legs, feet, hands.
Are a lot of those sports related?
Yeah, and work related. Not television work, but manual labor around the house.
I love the story about your wedding vows, how you said I do.
The answer is, I do. Gotta laugh.
Let's talk about your kids. Matthew was born when you were 50. You were first-time dad at 50. Trepidations there?
No, it was one of the most exciting moments of my life.
So he ended up getting a degree in philosophy.
Communications and philosophy at Fordham, and decided to work as a bartender.
Which is what you do after you get a philosophy degree.
Yeah, and then he decided he wanted to open a Mexican restaurant, which he has done, and which is now thriving.
It's in Harlem, right?
North Harlem, right across the street from City College of New York. And Emily's doing well here in the Valley. graduated from Loyola Marymount and tried a few things, party planning, and decided that she likes designing houses and renovating houses, so she's buying fixer-uppers and fixing them up. They are universally liked by their friends. They have maintained friendships with their high school buddies, and I think that's just marvelous. It's a sign that maybe Jean and I handle things properly. I had the afro, I had the mustache, and a very dark tan. I appeared on the Dinah Shore Show.
Taking that child's hand and walking with them over time, helping them take the first steps toward health and strength.
You have done an incredible amount of philanthropic work. I want to go through some of the things you've done.
World Vision, which I got involved with in the early 80s, the days of that great famine in Ethiopia. And they started sending me all over the world to record these little vignettes, these stories about kids in dire straits in order to raise money for their campaign of child sponsorship. And I was involved with World Vision for 25 years and still am.
Tell me about the village you adopted in Zambia.
Again, that was through World Vision. They had a village of about 1,700 people that got their drinking water, their cooking water, their washing water from this little spring that was where the cattle used to go to drink also, so it was semi-polluted. And I adopted the village, and we built 2 schoolhouses, a medical facility, 3 residences for staff, and we drilled 8 wells.
Tell me about the Smile Train.
When you donate money to charity, quite often you don't know where that money goes or what it does. But with the Smile Train, when you're looking at kids with cleft palates and they're like this in the first photo, and after a minor surgery, they're like this and they're smiling, and you say, yeah, I like that. I can see where my money is being spent. So,
and again, you changed their lives. You have donated so much money to charitable causes. I know you've given millions of dollars to the University of Ottawa. It seems like you're the kind of guy that realizes when it's enough for you and you then look outward.
I don't need any more money to affect my life. To do good for somebody else at very little cost to yourself, how can you say no? It makes you feel good.
How did you get involved with the United Negro College Fund?
They came to me and asked if I would be willing to appear on their telethon. And I said, of course, because a mind is a terrible thing to waste. I said, you guys have the best catchphrase of any charity out there. I'd be happy to assist you. And I went to do the program, and I ran into Gregory Hines, the dancer. And somebody came up to me afterwards and they said, I saw you and your brother talking a few minutes ago. Now keep in mind, at this stage of my career, I had the afro, I had the mustache, and a very dark tan. And so I was feeling very proud. I said, my gosh, they think Gregory and I are brothers. And then not too long after that, I appeared on Dinah's show, the Dinah Shore Show, and Dr. J was a guest. And somebody thought we were brothers because we look alike. So I'm out there in the Afro-American community as a brother.
Your contract is up on Jeopardy in 2020. Can you imagine a life without Jeopardy?